time and everything?
Sure.
Oh, it'll show up on his.
Okay, you guys are on.
September 21?
Not,
Nine.
yeah,
Nine-
21.
9:38, call the Council on Aging Board of Directors meeting to order.
I make a motion to call meeting to order.
I second.
Okay, first item, approval of minutes of previous meeting. Everybody have a chance to look at the meeting minutes? And does anybody have any questions or comments? Give you a couple minutes to look at them.
Mhm.
And if there's no questions or comments, does somebody want to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
I second.
Great, so treasurer's report, everybody have a
Need to vote.
vote to approve the minutes, okay? Do you have to, everybody approve the minutes?
Aye.
We abstained because we weren't members at the time.
Okay, and Lynn?
I abstain, I'm not on the board, so I can approve nothing.
So,
So,
quorum of 4.
minutes approved. Treasurer's report, does everybody have a copy? And take a few minutes to look it over, and if there's any questions or comments. Why don't we take 3 or 4 minutes to look it over?
Okay.
Oh, this was of June.
Yes, I have a comment.
Current. I was
No,
going to say,
I have
whoa.
a comment to make when you're finished perusing.
Yeah, sorry.
At your leisure.
Go ahead, Dot, what's your
Okay.
comment?
The comment is that it is only up to date till June because we have not reconciled it to the end of June at this point. Lynn was still in the process of reconciling with Ellen, and then once that's completed, then Lynn and I will reconcile this sheet. So although I still have, and we still have all of the records for July and August, and maybe September, I just have not started the new spreadsheet, and I don't really want to do it until I know that I'm starting with the right figures. So we're a bit behind on that, but once I get the final figures on this and make any corrections I need to make, and I'm sure there will be a couple, then I can proceed with going forward into this fiscal year. So,
Okay, sounds good.
I was getting a little worried that we've spent all this money already, and then I see it says June.
yeah, no,
Good, good.
no, that's
As of June.
as of June.
Okay, motion to accept treasurer's report,
I make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
second.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Treasurer's report accepted. Next, we'll have director's report from Lynn Stanton.
Good morning. It's nice to be able to pinch hit here with everyone for a little bit until folks are able to hire a new director. That will be hopefully relatively rapidly. It's a bit like riding a bike, so it was pretty straightforward to come back into the office. I appreciated that Nisha Burke's been doing an outstanding job, as is Maria Jogual, who does outreach for us and as have been the drivers, our van drivers. So it's been a positive return, let's put it that way. Just to sort of summarize what Dot said with regard to the budget, I am going to be sitting down with our town accountant to just sort of go over the finale of FY '22. FY '23 is pretty straightforward. I'm starting from scratch in terms of my spreadsheets, just because there are only 2.5 months' worth of documents, so it's really easy to go forward and to reconcile with Dot and to reconcile with our town accountant. She's been a tremendous help from the time I started, which has been probably like the end of August. So she's been a huge help in terms of items that were posted against line items that were incorrect. So she's been making some transfers, documents, I share with Dot about that. So that has been really easy, much appreciated. Then to the old business. A couple of just small things. Our food pantry is growing. Use is also growing. We did have funding through a couple of sources for the new fridge and freezer. Unfortunately, they both arrived damaged. I don't know if they just pushed them off the truck or what, but it was a situation. So through the kind help of Nisha, we were able to return those successfully, one of the items, the freezer, back to the source vendor. The same will actually occur with the fridge, which when plugged in and blah, 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 it was a problem. So given the expense of those items, it's wise to just return them. We continue with UTech boxes out of Haverhill. We service about 5 folks with those. That grows and diminishes depending on the season. We also do through Elder Services, which is now called HSpan, that's a change since I departed, traveling chef. And we deliver once a month to about 40 people. And those are free lunches provided to towns. It's changed a little, but it's provided to towns who do not have congregate meal sites. So we're able to continue with that program, even though other towns have been cut. So that has been huge. In terms of new business, as I understand it through talking with staff, there are no major concerns with our elders at this time. That's huge. Staff. So we have new job descriptions that were created through the Collins Center, who do municipal work across the Commonwealth, to square away the town's salaries and job descriptions and to see where we fit in with the rest of the world, at least in Massachusetts. I received and sent forward to Catherine and to Irene Thomas copies of those job descriptions after I made some minor corrections to them. They really were essentially boilerplate approach to each of the various jobs. They will work with Rebecca, our town administrator, to square away any, glaring changes that need to be made. And I would think there might be one. Those have been reviewed. They did not do a job description for our van drivers, so Rebecca kindly and with great haste sent along a new job description from the Collins Center for the van drivers so that, we would have that available to us as well. And then so going forward, which is going to be great, each position, including the one I'm currently filling on an interim basis, will have a regularized, standardized job description. And that will be based on what happens in the rest of the Commonwealth, in other cities and towns. And that will be much appreciated. Our new assistant director is doing a great job. She'll be away a little bit next week to use up the end of her vacation time before it expires at the end of September. So that will be much needed. van drivers are doing a great job. We have 2 regulars and a backup driver, which is a big help. It's a big part of what we do always. I don't think people really realize how much transportation we provide, whether it's folks who live in congregate living, whether that's River Pines or Nichols Village. I think folks really just don't realize how important that is. The fact that we have a new van is huge. I'll get to that in a moment. Computers. So, and this again is a big plus. I was here one day and Rebecca graciously and rapidly replaced the PC that had been dead since January. Software is all up to date, emails square, it's all available. That happened the day after I started, which I appreciated, because otherwise folks, the prior director was using a laptop that was periodically iffy in terms of connectivity and so on. So that part's been huge. Nisha received a new computer, and I also note this here, on the 15th of September, Maria's was replaced yesterday, so the Council on Aging is good to go in terms of connectivity. That's been great. The van. So, I wasn't here very long, and all of a sudden there are van issues. I'm like, did they know I was coming? So the check engine light came on. It's somewhat of an issue. It's not something you can go forward with, without worry. So we brought it, as apparently most of the town's fleet vehicles go to auto maintenance on Salem Street. It's actually not Salem Street, it's Groveland Ave or something.
Uptown.
In any event, it's Dave Martin.
Okay.
Everybody knows Dave Martin. He does wonderful work. So we brought it there. He did a diagnostic. It turns out that the situation is should be covered under warranty. So we will be bringing the van to one of 2 dealerships to have that item looked at. It's not something that affects the vehicle's safety or ability to drive, but it's something that, needs to be looked at. So yay, so fun. But that will be covered supposedly under our warranty. So that was a huge relief. Because we're going to get to the next part, which is not a huge relief, and that is our budget for FY '23. We have a very small, as you're aware, a very small van maintenance line item, because we have a new van. So the larger amount that went forward in years past was not necessary. Unfortunately, we have a very small, straight expense line item budget approved, at town meeting under the omnibus budget. If you just take what has been, which I just did over the past couple of weeks that I've been here. By weeks, I mean really just hours. I mean, folks hear that and they think, oh, she's been here for blah, blah, blah. But really, I've just been here for hours. So I looked at what has been put forward, posted under the regular expense line item, which has been cut to apparently $3,000. So if I take what's been posted so far, which are our usual annual costs, my senior center software, MCOA, annual Mass Councils on Aging dues, motion picture licensing fee for the year, plus our cell phone. If that's all we pay from now till the end of June, so those have already been paid, those items. So if we just go forward with the cell phone, and there are several cell phones for the van drivers, outreach, and so on, which were a major help when we didn't have internet access for about a month, so it enabled everybody to carry on business as usual without PCs and so on. So if we just go forward with the cell phone line item, we're going to be over budget by $800. That's no office supplies, that's no mileage to reimburse staff for travel, that's no workshops, that's nothing. So I'll have an opportunity after, I meet with Dot to go over just some general budget items. And then perhaps we can make an appointment to meet with Rebecca to sort of discuss what we can do going forward, seeing as we're going to be really short. So that's a situation. And I think that's something that can be resolved. In the meanwhile, we needed some office supplies, nothing huge, folders and blah, 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 blah. So that I have taken out of our revolving account, just to sort of tide us over until we can learn more about how we should manage. So there's that. Very good news on the formula grant front. And the formula grant, for anyone who's not familiar, it's a dollar amount. This year it's $12, or last year it was $12 per elder in the town, based on the 2010 census. Although we do have a 2020 census, it hasn't gone into effect yet with regard to the state. So that formula grant is a formula based on this dollar amount against the seniors in our town. It's a huge help for all COAs. So in years past, and this is sort of a statewide thing that used to occur, if you received a grant and you did not utilize all the money in that grant, your next formula grant distribution will be shorted by that amount that you did not use the year before. But during COVID, things changed. And so the folks at the state Executive Office of Elder Affairs said, we're not going to hold you to that anymore. You can now roll over any unspent monies from that grant. In our case, and I think it was something that, the person prior to me was just not aware of, was that there was more in that account than anticipated. So between that dollar amount being able to be rolled over in the formula grant, plus this year's amount, which is about, so this year it looks like, it hasn't been confirmed, but it looks like about $16,272. That'll give us about $17,000 in the formula grant. That money, in the past, the grant was written to fund outreach, to fund a little bit of transportation work, and our newsletter. But through the great diligence of the folks in our department, that newsletter is now done through senior publishing at no cost to the COA. It is funded by advertisements, as lots of print publications. So they seek out local Groveland businesses, which we don't have a lot of. So it's kind of been worrisome in the past, but they seek out our local businesses to pay for advertising in the newsletter. Those are printed in the last few pages of the newsletter. And so the only thing that we have to pay for the newsletter now is bulk mailing. So we have an account with the post office. We deposit monies into that account periodically based on where we're at from the mailing of the newsletter. So that will still come out of the formula grant monies. So that, again, is no cost to the taxpayers. So that's a big plus. And I will be utilizing some of that money to offset that line item under transportation for our assistant director. And that is permitted to have two different hourly rates charged against two different line items. So that little bit will be helpful and a positive incentive for staff going forward. The Executive Office of Elder Affairs annual report, which we submit each year, is ever so fun. And that will be, and so I was concerned about that because it's usually due about now, sometime in September. The fiscal year closes at the end of June. The state wants to know what you've been doing all year. What are your numbers? What are you providing for services? What are you receiving from your municipality in terms of support, that sort of thing. So it's kind of a bit of a project. So I was able to get a hold of the gentleman who coordinates programs and services for COAs across the Commonwealth through the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. He'd been on vacation. He got back to me Monday. Also very responsive, very helpful. He said it'll be coming in about 2 or 3 weeks. Soon, he said. So, and they give you a little time, to get that information gathered. What's been a huge blessing in years past, which will be the same this year, is our software that we use to track programs and services and transportation and meals and all of that, which is through My Senior Center, which is a software provider. Through the previous director, she did a wonderful job bumping up our use of that software so that we have now purchased through My Senior Center a computer and a scanner and a little camera type widget. That's very technical. that we're going to be able to use so that people can come in with their key card, which will soon be distributed to folks, scan it, it'll automatically log it into My Senior Center. So that will be huge. And we use that to fill out the paperwork to create that report for the state, which is terrific, because it was a very laborious effort in years past before we had My Senior Center. So anyway, so through that effort, and again, that annual fee for that software did jump about 50% with the ability to now scan little cards instead of having like login sheets and that sort of thing, has been a big help. And that's been a plus. The newsletter, the ever popular newsletter. So apparently it was not mailed out for September, October. We have had them dropped off all over the place in town and so on to be accessible to folks. We have an email distribution list that I will learn more about, to share that newsletter with folks who no longer care for a printed copy. But our folks really do, like it or not, love the printed copy. I mean, I know I do. I don't want to sit in front of my little, iPad and scroll. It's kind of handy to have that paper copy. And not everyone has access to tablets, iPads, what have you, Surface Pros. So that's, that hopefully I'll work on that, which again, that's a sort of time-consuming task. So hopefully we'll get that mailed out for the November, December time period. And I think folks appreciate that. Director transition. So in the course of coming in and looking at the files and that whole situation, what people used, what people that have been hired before me, what they found useful, what they ignored, that sort of thing. So I will tweak the director transition sheets that I made for everybody when I retired 16 months ago, and I'll tweak that to add things that turns out would have been more helpful to know. And I learned these things a little bit by working with our town accountant, Ellen Petrillo, who, may I just say, has been kind of a treasure. And so we talked about the sorts of things that new folks might not have been aware of, that after doing it for so many years, you just take for granted. So I will tweak that. I will tweak the various vendors and accounts that we use to show current use and passwords and logins. It's such a long list. It's kind of funny. So anyway, that part has been good. Just an FYI, so I was initially contacted to do between 10 and 15 hours a week. So I haven't done that yet, so I've exceeded it a little bit. I haven't gone over 18 hours a week, you know, because I don't need benefits and all that sort of stuff. But I know that that can be an issue with a municipality if you exceed that. So I am staying under that. But just to give you a heads up that it's actually over the 10 to 15. Who knew?
I would like to, I had a suspicion.
Right? That was gonna be a little
Yeah.
over. So,
I have a question.
sure.
This $800 shortfall we have, can this be transferred, like, from the revolving account to help defray some of these?
Hush, my darling.
Does that mean no?
We don't want to do that. I mean, it's,
But
you
is it
know, the
allowable?
expense line item is the cost of doing business.
Yes,
And
I get that.
You know what I mean? So it's something that I would prefer to avoid because we already obtain the support of our citizens through our
Yeah,
taxes.
and we're entitled, they're
And so
entitled.
our Council on Aging is the work of and the support of the citizens of Groveland. And so our revolving account, which used to fondly be referred to as our donation account, that's through the excessive generosity of folks in our world, whether it's the kind folks at Nichols Village, the generosity of individual people who like to remain nameless. So I'm, just my personal opinion, I'm sort of loath to use those dollars
Yeah,
to conduct the average business of the COA.
yeah, because once
my
you do it
opinion.
once, it becomes a precedent.
And it's something
Yeah.
that's used for extras, you know, programs and events which aren't supported, say, for instance, by the town. You
Right.
know, a nice lunch or this or that. You know, if we want to replace, you know, office furniture, or for instance,
Refreshments for
yeah,
people
we
who
covered
do
that,
the
but I mean,
newsletters
as
and stuff.
you write refreshments when we collate the newsletter. But as a general rule, that's extra. I know some dollars had gone in hopes of the building of a senior center. That didn't happen. So it's sort of a reserve account. For instance, should the van maintenance line item be insufficient? It's only $1,500. You know, out of that, we pay for, you know, annual inspections and tires and oil changes and things of that nature. And may I say, when we replace tires, it's a pricey
Yeah.
little venture.
Yeah,
So I'm just saying that it, personally, totally up to you as a board in terms of your advice. I feel that that account is usually for extras that are not funded by the town.
okay. Yeah. I agree.
You know, we've paid for in the past, you know, laptops and things like that. So that, you know, that's kind of a help. In terms of coming events, we've got the Friends of the COA Barbecue, which is on September 29th, next Thursday. And that has a nice, big group of folks that will be coming. I want to say over 40 people.
Ah,
So that's exciting. We just did a trip to Rockport. Coming will be a trip to the Topsfield Fair and also to the Museum of Fine Arts. And these are terrific trips. Folks really appreciate it. Who likes driving into Boston?
Who likes driving to Rockport?
Who likes driving to Rockport? You know, they get kindly dropped off and have a good time, and we'll see you on the backside. So that part's been great.
Good.
Other than that, that's it for excitement on my end. Anybody have any questions for me?
No, I just had one more. Elder services, what are they called now?
Age span,
Age span.
age span.
I knew that, but. I
Still
didn't-
out of Lawrence, but we also share all those good resources with other folks on the North Shore. So it used to be like North Shore Elder Services and Merrimack Valley Elder, we sort of all got together and formed a little bit of a more regional group.
Mm.
So that's been good. Ms. Bahalski.
I would like to thank you
Yes.
for all your
Oh.
work and
Oh.
what you've
Oh,
gotten
yeah.
Yes.
everything
These,
meshed and
the-
put together.
these are my people. So
No,
it,
you-
so two
thank
things
you.
I was I appreciate that, that's kind. Two things I was hoping to have happen. One was to offer some relief to the ever-long suffering Nisha Burke, because she's been up against it for months and months. And also to allow the board to focus your time and energy on finding a new director and, really be able to, take a measured approach to that.
Not be rushed into something.
Yeah. And I feel comfortable in what I do. Nisha's been great with, here are things that have changed, here are things that are new. I'm loving our commodious accommodations. It's,
Wow,
Nisha and I
nice.
were like working in a submarine for so many years.
Right.
And so to have a little room to spread out, to actually be able to have we'll purchase that shortly, but, and that, again, would come out of the revolving account, not out of, the town's expense budget. But to have like a round table where, you folks can drop in and ask questions and conduct business, that will be huge. And then,
And not impose ourselves on your space.
yeah, I mean, it was so, during COVID, it couldn't even happen.
Yeah.
And then our outreach office, which was our old office, is already jam-packed. But we will be obtaining shelving for that spot so that the pantry will be more efficient. And we'll actually get rid of those bookcases that
Oh,
go
really?
along that side, so those will be gone.
Okay.
But I don't want to do any of that until we resolve the issue of the
Refrigerator,
fridge and
freezer.
freezer. Because those take up a lot of space.
Yes, they do.
Who knew? Holy mackerel.
Yeah.
So, and also new and exciting, each department office has its own thermostat.
That's huge.
That's huge. That's huge, It was sort of tough, given the zoning, to have a zone be down there, and we're all at the other end of the food chain. And so you'd either, you'd freeze. But I like it cold, but it was not so great for my associate in crime. Not so much. So that's been really great.
Yeah, the day they got it, they were set at 60.
Nisha must have died. Get me out of here.
So we had a very quick tutorial on how to how to work the thermostat.
And to all of your credit, some boards can be, and this is just in retrospect after having left, some boards can be contentious and micromanaging and difficult, I guess is a fair thing to say. Whereas the Council on Aging Board has always been supportive and helpful and offers good suggestions and brings up questions that you might not readily think of because, you're out there in the business of life. And that's what we're trying to accomplish, keeping folks independent. And so people do kindly remember those things that are brought up by the board. Everybody's very, very supportive, very helpful.
Well, we know that the COA staff is capable, dedicated, informed, informing, and that's huge for the seniors in Groveland.
Good people. We have such good people in town. It's great. Thank you.
We
That's,
do.
that's good to hear. Because sometimes you don't hear it at all.
Yes, no, we
Now
have,
we have it
we
on
have,
tape.
we have confidence.
Thank
Indeed.
you. Thank you for all of that good stuff.
Thank you.
If that might be it, I will go back to my little cubby.
Okay, thank you
Okay.
very much, Lynn. We really
Thank you, thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
I will see you in a bit.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sign-offs.
Coffee.
So after Director's Report, it says old business, but it just talks about the refrigerator and freezer, which we've already discussed,
Yeah,
unless anybody has any other comment about it. And do we have any other old business?
Well, I think we've got, I just want to bring up the Friends of the Groveland Council on Aging. Once again, the barbecue that they're having on Thursday, September 29th at noon. If people are interested still in signing up, to please call the COA office and do that. And the cost will be collected at the barbecue. They also are asking, the Friends are asking for help in setting up, a little help in serving, and breaking down at the end. And also with the newsletter, the September-October newsletter had their calendar raffle, which is a significant way that they had been planning to raise money for additional programs and needs of the Council on Aging. But that didn't get mailed out, so they're a little concerned that people are aware of their calendar raffle.
I didn't get
Yes, I
anything.
am.
Well,
It was on Facebook.
Are they gonna have
it's
it at
on
the barbecue?
Facebook.
Yes.
I hope they have it at the barbecue.
Yeah.
That would be the right move,
They
I
have it on the
think.
website?
I don't know if it's on the website. I saw it on
'Cause
Facebook.
I'm not on the Facebook.
Well, also, there are printed calendars in the Council on Aging
Oh.
office that can be picked up at any time. And
Okay.
it's also
The
in the
library.
printed newsletter that has been distributed to the library, the town hall, the Council on Aging office, and several other businesses, Jerry's, I think. And there might be other businesses as well, or other locations in town that have the newsletter. And it's all in there, and they have worked very hard. They have informed me that they have gotten all these donations, and they certainly want those businesses to be respected by having enough sales for their calendar raffle. And anything that's going to support additional programming here for the Council on Aging is always beneficial.
Is Ron Mertens running that?
Yes, I think Ron Mertens is key in running that.
I think if they set up a table at the barbecue, they might get some good response.
That's a good idea.
I think there should be a table at the barbecue for that, yes, indeed.
I'm sure Ron's all over it. He'll probably have it all set up.
Oh, I want to go back to the barbecue. I know the deadline for knowing the number of people who will be coming is pretty soon, so in the next day or two, people should call the COA office and sign up if they plan to go, so that the Friends can order food and supplies accordingly.
All right. Any other, was that old business or new? I guess that's new business, huh? The barbecue? So we talked about our appreciation for Lynn. Future meeting issues, locations, and televising. Does anybody have what we need to discuss about that?
Nisha contacted me and said that they're trying to get, there's a Moving with Leah class that the COA has had at different times. That may be starting in October, and if it does, it's going to, the class will be held in this room at the same time as we have our monthly meeting, and so it would be a conflict. And we may need to look into having a different location for our meeting for October, and perhaps beyond, if this class is popular and they are using this space during our meeting time.
It would be great if we could get that conference room back at the police station.
Well, Nisha was suggesting that there's the conference room. There's now a conference room that's free, or a space that's free in the hallway here, or a room off of the hallway. I don't know how to describe it. I don't even know who was in that office before. It's where we
It's
had,
just the corner office, just before Rebecca's new office.
okay,
Rebecca's
thank
old
you.
office?
Rebecca's old office?
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, I think it is. There's a table in there.
Yeah, okay, yeah, probably the one she moved from the
Yeah.
big office.
So that's a possibility, and Lynn just mentioned the round table, and
Yeah.
at one point, Nisha said perhaps the table could be set up even in the COA office for the meeting. So those were two suggestions, and
Either
now
would
we
be
have the
access-
third
Or
for
the
meeting at
police
the,
I don't know if that's available. At one time, that's where we met all the time, and the COVID thing changed that. And when we started to go back, they decided that for some reason or other that they it was no longer available. And I don't remember if it was no longer available permanently or if it was no longer available, so maybe we could, I mean, although that would be, I really don't have a preference. The only reason I think of that one is because it's the one we used before.
oh, okay.
If it's, town hall is, I don't know if anyone else has a preference as to,
No, but we should look into that room and see if there's this sign-up schedule or how
Okay.
they're
does Beth,
scheduling
is
it.
Beth
I don't know.
responsible for that?
That's what we'll look into.
Rebecca, I think,
Rebecca
is
is-
responsible for,
Oh,
Anytime.
okay,
I make sure we have a location through Rebecca.
okay.
My question would be, is there going to always be a table there?
Yes.
We know that for sure?
Well,
A
where would it
table and
go?
chairs? I don't know. Is there a table in there?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Is that a moot point, because the meeting is going to have to be televised? Is this the only televised spot?
Would
That's
ask
a good
Chris.
I
question.
don't know. That's,
The,
that's his problem.
The fire department room would be an ideal choice, because we have cameras and
Right.
microphones in there. and we get good coverage. So I would try to do that.
Fire
The pu-
department?
The public safety room, right?
Public safety building.
Yeah,
Where we used to meet.
So you don't have access to that, Rebecca's old office? You don't have camera access to that?
We could do something portable, but we don't have an audio system in there, so it would be more difficult, and it probably wouldn't translate as well.
Did I ask? So I'm on another board, the library trustees, and we did a Zoom meeting and recorded the Zoom meeting.
Yep.
Is that also an acceptable,
Yeah, absolutely.
so we could meet anywhere with, public place that people could come and do a Zoom meeting, and that, then you record the Zoom meeting, and that's recorded.
Does
for-
anybody know how to do that?
I never
No.
had good luck on
Yeah,
Zoom.
none of us know how to do that.
I know, but it can be done,
It
and,
could help you,
right, just in case we can't find a space. And then people who want to attend the meetings, just get the Zoom link, would be put on the agenda, and then that's how they would view it. And I don't know if they then take that Zoom meeting and record it on,
Zoom records the file, so I can just take that file
And
and
put
put
it
it
up.
up on the channel.
right, on the, thank you, that's what I was
Very
trying to
easy,
say.
so
Right.
Very doable.
We used to hold our book club get-togethers on Zoom, and once or twice I was able to get in. Other times, there was a problem with not only myself, but a lot of other people.
Oh.
And so I kind of never did it anymore until we were able to meet, in person.
Well, we would still be
We
meeting.
would still be in person.
Yeah,
It would be on Zoom for
Oh,
those.
okay.
Yeah, and then
that's even
eventually,
better.
so, no, and eventually he would be putting it up onto the channel for the
Right.
general public.
Right,
So we're doing, the Zoom is recording it for us, and then
Okay.
he has the files, I think that's what he said, and then he puts it up on the channel so
Oh,
that
that's-
people can access it that way, not have to be there at 9:30 on a Wednesday
Right.
watching a Zoom meeting.
that's good.
But we could still
Oh,
meet like
good.
this and just somehow figure out how to Zoom it.
Right, if we figured out how to do it.
So that, that's another possibility if
Mhm.
we don't have recording access.
So do we have sort of a list, a priority list? What would be our first choice, second
Oh.
choice to pursue?
Well, if there's already a recording thing in the fire department, maybe that could be that might be the least disruptive. Who do we talk to about,
Rebecca.
That's
Rebecca?
Rebecca.
okay.
I do usually set up the logistics, but if anybody else would like to do that, you certainly
No,
may
no,
take
no.
over that
No,
responsibility.
I'll be your assistant.
Okay.
If you need me to chase
Okay.
something down.
So that's our top priority?
Well, at least for the next meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
we have a month.
What, October? What?
It makes sense to. if
Well,
you
it does.
tell
It
them-
also makes sense for us to be in this complex, around this campus, because we often follow up before, we often stop in at the COA office before or after a meeting if there's
Yeah.
some
I
other
usually
business.
I usually have business there myself.
Exactly.
But it's not really a big deal.
Okay.
Okay, process to hire new COA director. We've had numerous applications come in. Most of them aren't qualified, but we do have some that are, and we're, pretty soon, we're gonna have to set up interviews in coordination with Rebecca. Probably we'll have a representative from the board. The whole board wouldn't be in on the interview process. So I don't know if you want to do like we did before and appoint maybe 2 or 3 people to sit in on the interviews with, it would probably be with Rebecca and probably a selectman or 2.
That's,
Then once we narrow it down, like we did before, if we had really good candidates, we would put it before the whole board. So does anybody want to be on that committee?
I have a question first. Who actually hires the new director? Do we hire the new director, or is that the selectmen?
Well, it's ultimately the selectmen. We present our candidate to them, and they would maybe do a quick interview themselves, or they actually appoint them, ultimately. But we can do the preliminary, narrow it down, and present the candidates or candidate that we want.
And in the past, I don't know if the just previous one, but before that, there were 2 selectmen on that subcommittee.
Right,
That came and interviewed those, we narrowed it down to, a
right. So
few.
we had a few from our board
Right.
and 2 from the selectmen.
So they
And
kind-
that was
they-
the committee. But then, once you narrow it down, the board, full board interviewed and selected, and then presented to the selectmen. Now that we have Rebecca, the town administrator, I'm sure, and she's in charge of personnel, so the procedure probably will be a little bit different. But, us as a board are definitely involved. So, does anybody want to be on the committee to hire the new director?
no.
Larry?
I would certainly be pleased to serve on the committee, except that I have no history. I don't really have the background necessary to maybe select the best candidate.
Well, none of us really do. I
Mhm.
mean, we're not involved in, our careers, vary, all of us. Everybody has different qualifications they can bring to the table. And I'm sure any qualifications you have would be, appreciated.
A fresh pair of eyes, too.
Yeah,
Then I will volunteer.
And there's so many facets to it with the town administrator, 2 selectmen, and a couple of our board,
It's a way to get my feet wet.
There you go. Definitely.
still, you know, I've served 1 year, but I still need to, as he said, get my feet wet.
Okay,
So I'll
and
volunteer.
I'll do it too. So why don't we be Marie, Larry, and myself? And do we need to vote on that, or make a motion?
The last time we formed a little subcommittee.
That's what we're doing?
Yes,
Yeah.
and we did vote on that.
Okay.
We did make a motion.
I make
Okay.
a motion that we appoint Marie, Catherine, and Larry to the subcommittee for
Personnel.
Hiring
hiring.
the new
And
COA
just
director.
so you know, I have found out since our last time of doing this, that you need to post your meeting, subcommittee meetings, and take minutes and submit them,
If we have any.
if you have any kind of meeting. So when you do your interviews, that has to be posted, et cetera, et cetera.
The interviews,
The
but
inter-
they don't have to be posted for public, because public can't come into the interview. And we can check with Rebecca.
Yeah,
and
that-
ask
check
her
with
so we
Rebecca
don't do it
because
wrong.
We had a little, yeah, and that's what the state told us at the library. When we tried to do a bylaws subcommittee, we had to go through all of this, it was 3 people, and we had to do the
Yeah.
minutes, the whole,
So I'll definitely run it by
Check-
Rebecca,
check,
and
yeah.
and
okay.
I'm sure she knows what needs to be
Got it.
done with
Yeah.
the open meeting law.
Yeah.
And just another thing I wanted to mention about the open meeting law, and I know everybody's, read the rules and everything, but I did read one thing about being on the internet, if you have discussions on email and you have more than a quorum, that makes it a meeting. And even if you do it separately, it says that that still constitutes a quorum. If 2 people reply, and then another person replies, that's a discussion, even though you're not together and you're not even on one email. So you
Unless-
have to be careful about, and it says, I'll just read something about it that I copied. And it says, if a member of a public body sends an email to a quorum of a public body expressing his or her opinion on a matter that could come before that body, this communication violates the law, even if none of the recipients respond. So we just need to be careful with the emails, that you don't run a discussion on there, and then people responding, it's still open meeting laws. Go
I
in.
believe
Go
if
ahead.
you're saying, listen, we can't meet this Wednesday, is Thursday okay?
Yes, I was just gonna say
that's-
scheduling.
oh,
Right.
schedule-
No,
unless scheduling, sending minutes, sending reports, that is okay, but if it's an opinion,
If it's
asking- that's expressing opinion, like, can
Or
we meet
if-
on Thursday, but,
Yeah,
yes.
or if it's a deliberation,
right,
that's the word they use.
Oh,
But
okay.
schedule, I was gonna say scheduling would be
Scheduling, or
okay,
even-
right?
Yeah,
Change of venue on the meeting or something like that.
that's okay.
An expression of opinion on matters.
All right.
And
It matters, so.
that would be a deliberation. And so it says, the expression of an opinion on matters within the body's jurisdiction to a quorum of a public body is a deliberation, even if no other public body member responds. So even if you put it out there for everybody, even if they don't respond, it's a deliberation.
Okay.
So let's just be careful,
Be mindful.
yeah, of putting things on an email, and you think it's not a quorum or it's not a meeting, but if it's a deliberation and a communication of it, that would violate the open meeting law. So I just wanted to bring that up since we do a lot on the email,
Okay.
Okay. So do we make a motion for the board, the new COA board?
Personnel committee?
Is that what we're going to call it?
Interview
Interview committee. Let's call it
Oh,
interview
okay.
committee.
I made the motion.
interview committee.
Okay, did somebody second it?
I'll second it.
Okay,
Then we
great.
vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous? And the other item was revised review draft of assistant COA, and I think that's already been addressed with Lynn and Rebecca in the Collins Center review. It's gone back and forth. Does
Yeah.
anybody have anything else about that?
Well, the subcommittee, the Personnel Subcommittee had put together a pretty comprehensive assistant director
Job
jo-
description.
responsibility description in January of 2022. So now I wonder,
My
can we
understanding,
reconcile these two?
well, my understanding was that, and this is probably, this can be changed, but the last I had talked to Lynn, that we were having a conversation, that actually Nisha never formally accepted the position. So I don't know how that, I'm not really familiar with
Right.
personnel issues, so has she been formally offered the position and formally accepted?
The last, I was told that she was never formally offered the position.
Okay,
Okay, so
So
we're,
I don't really know where we stand on this. I
I'm
have more questions than answers about this. So we came up with a with a responsibility description, which is a draft. Collins Center came up with a job description. I don't know on what they based that. And I don't know, does that take precedence
based
over
on the
what we
survey
said?
they put around in
all the
People ha-
COAs.
yeah, and that people had to respond. People in each position had to respond. They had to fill out this
Okay.
big survey
Okay.
paper, maybe 5 or
I-
10 pages
But
long.
I
or
I think
something.
it's a way of standardizing
Right.
what you
I
guys
think what you're
did.
gonna get is a generic
Right?
form. This is more specific to
Groveland.
our,
Mhm.
you know, it mentions specific agencies that we deal with where the Collins Center will put something out that's more generic, and there will have to be a reconciliation.
So-
Yeah, that's,
so
so,
what
do
hap-
we reconcile the two together?
That, I don't know if that happened yet, but
No, it
that's what's
hasn't.
happening, because the same with Lynn. She put out the director's one, Lynn read it over, made some few minor adjustments, and sent it back. And I think the same thing happened with Nisha. The assistant director position that the Collins Center made goes to her. If there were any corrections, she would correct it and send it back. So that's all been in the works
I'm gonna,
already.
all right, I'll check with Lynn anyways while I'm there to see, where we're at with all of that stuff. Because
Well-
I mean, that's stuff that should be handled on a different level. Even though we support it, it still has to be formally offered and formally accepted, and regardless of what they're using
Yeah,
as
that's,
a guide.
right, that's different issue.
Yeah.
Moving forward, she's the assistant director. This is the
Description.
description that the Collins Center made, and then she just needs to read it over, and if there's any corrections or things, and then it will be accepted.
So
Go ahead, Laurel.
if there's a final document, do we get as a board, do we get a copy of that to keep on file for future reference?
All the job descriptions in the whole town will be made available.
Okay.
So the work that this subcommittee did in January, that has some things that are specifically pertaining to the Groveland Assistant Director position, hasn't even been shared or looked at?
Uh,
Do you know
I-
if that document has been given to anyone, or is it just we're going with the Collins?
You'd have to check with
I know that's what the
Nisha,
town's doing, yeah.
right, of what they presented to her as the job description. And if she needs to reconcile with what she has and what they have, she needs to reconcile that and send it back, and then they'll, just like Lynn did, she looked it over, she found a few discrepancies, and she sent it back to Rebecca for review.
But
Yeah.
we've got a thorny situation here, I think, because according to Nisha and documents that she either has or has not ever received,
Well, I think that's already gone by the board. I think it's already been resolved. So check with her
we're
before
asking
we.
her to give feedback on a document that describes the responsibilities of an assistant COA director, yet
Which she-
she's not an
Well-
assistant COA
Well,
director.
you're saying that, but you need to check with her before we
I-
say anything.
We'll just
Today?
see, we'll get
Not
a,
today, but
Right.
I'm gonna, I'll.
Check with her
I'm going to
today.
go
I'll
in
ask,
too.
because I have business in there anyways.
Yeah,
and-
so
and
do
just
I,
to see the
so.
status.
I
We'll ask
know.
her the status of it.
Exactly.
You know,
Yes.
did you
Check
get,
with her.
did you get the Collins thing?
Check with
Have you done
her.
anything with it? La, la, la.
Right.
Is she on vacation?
Not
not
today.
this week.
Oh,
Not today,
okay,
maybe tomorrow, but not today.
okay, that's good.
Yeah, there's a lot that seems to be unresolved about this.
Yeah.
Well,
We'll see. We'll
just check
get
with her. It
opinion.
may
Yes,
be
indeed.
unresolved, and then we just don't know.
We don't know
Exactly.
as of today.
Exactly.
As of today.
Exactly.
As of today. And I do have one more item for new business.
Go ahead.
So we expanded our board to 7, and it appears we're going to need another member.
We can. If anybody knows anybody that wants to come on the board, we don't have to. We don't have to have 7. We can, and if somebody is more than willing to come on, and you can, the board can invite them in, and we can decide.
But as long as we have a
Laurel?
quorum for now, we're
Well, my
good.
suggestion is to find that 7th person, because the quorum at 6 is what,
3 to
Three.
3?
3.5? It's got to be one more, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I
Where
see what you
7
mean. We need
or
a-
The
vote.
quorum will
It
be
could be 3 to
4.
3, and then what?
The
You know.
quorum would be 4. Has to be more than the majority.
Right, so
I mean,
4, okay. We'd
more
have to have
than the-
4 with 6 people,
Would
and
be
a vote,
4.
it would have to be 4.
At
Okay.
7, it would have to be 4. 6, it would have to be 4.
All right, that was my, yeah,
For a quorum, but
for a quorum and a
if,
vote.
if we
right,
were to take a vote of 6 people, sure, it could be 3 and 3.
right.
And I think there must be a rule for a tiebreaker, whatever that rule is.
You
Either
get
that or you
two.
have to
You
table
get
it,
2
maybe?
votes.
Or the deciding
chair.
vote, I don't know, maybe the chair gets the deciding vote. We could look into that.
Right, that was, and so have we received official notification from the person who resigned?
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's
Okay.
been submitted to the selectmen.
Okay,
Has the selectmen acted on it yet?
They didn't meet this week, and I think, I don't, they meet next Monday, every other Monday, unless they got it by last Monday, which I'm not sure. I didn't see the meeting. But it's definitely been submitted.
Yeah.
So if anybody does know somebody that wants to come in and join the board, bring them on in. And we'll move forward with that. Okay, anything else before we?
Well, I think
Finish.
we should officially thank Anita for all of her contributions to this committee, which in turn have been contributions to the seniors in Groveland.
I thank you, I will pass that on.
Thank you.
And that's from the whole board.
Yes, I know. It'll be in the minutes, so, and I will show her. I'll tell her it was unanimous.
Okay.
Got to write it down.
Anything else? Make a motion to adjourn? Anybody make a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second it? All in favor? Adjourn at 10:45. Thank you.
You.